Hi chocolate friends, Carla here with Opening Chocolate. Today for this bar bits video, I was inspired by this bar from Paccari chocolate. They are a bean-to-bar chocolate maker out of Ecuador, and they often feature flavors that originate from their area of the world. Now when you think paprika, maybe you don't think Ecuador, maybe you think like Hungary or Spain, but paprika actually originates in South America, Central America, and Mexico. And it starts with a plant, as you may have guessed. It starts with Capsicum annum, which is in the Solanaceae family, the same family as potatoes and tomatoes. And it's a pepper, but technically, botanically, they are berries. So they are thought, the genus Capsicum is thought to originate in the Andes, South America, kind of all in that Peru, Ecuador kind of area. And it was used by the Spanish before European contact. It was used by the indigenous people of the Americas before European contact. We have records of them putting chili in their chocolate. So that's why it makes a nice combination. We already know that it makes a good combination with chocolate. The Spanish brought capsicum back to Europe. It was adopted rather quickly as far as spices go. Let me tell you a little bit about the history, the archaeological evidence in South America, and I also have an interesting tale to tell you about how paprika won someone a Nobel Prize. So hang in for that story. So paprika was not paprika, but Capsicum annum, which is ground paprika, but capsicum was used for usually a medicine. So it was used to treat wounds, it was used for pain relief, for fever, what else? It was also used as a weapon. So they would weaponize it by burning them, and the oils would get in the smoke, and that could obviously affect your eyes. So it was used as a weapon. It was used as punishment for children. It's now illegal to use capsicum as a weapon, so just so you know. But in the past, it was used for that. It was first adopted in Europe as an ornamental plant. And the reason for that was that they thought plants of Solanaceae, which includes nightshade, were poisonous. So they didn't think that you could eat that, so it was an ornamental. Somebody ground it up eventually and ate it in Europe. They were eating it already in the Americas. And it became adopted very quickly. It went east very quickly and then came back to Northern Europe. So you have adoption by India and China and those areas, and then coming back through the spice route back into Northern Europe. Ottomans introduced it to Hungary, which is the country that it's often associated with. It is their national spice. If you ever go to Hungary, there's a lot of paprika. There's even a paprika museum in Hungary. So yeah, that's how it got to Hungary. Spain has always been a big grower and user of paprika. What else? So as I mentioned, it's a ground pepper, and there's hundreds of varieties of Capsicum annum. So it's not always the same one that's dried and ground to make paprika. In the United States, we usually only have smoked or sweet paprika. In places like Spain and Hungary, they can have 4, 5, 6 grades of paprika that you can purchase. They grow the peppers. It's about a 9-month process. They grow the peppers, harvest them, they put them in these long skinny bags, mesh bags, called salami bags. They sun dry them in the bags for a little while, and that preserves the color, which is also important because sometimes they're used mostly for their color, even in cosmetics occasionally. So they're dried in these bags then for a few days, but then they need to get them really dry, so they bring them in, they slice them a little because a pepper has a hollow area in the middle, so you need to slice it so you can get out the water from the middle. They slice it and then they put it in a dryer, a mechanical dryer, heat dryer, to get it to a certain water level. And then they grind it, not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 4 times to get it to the particle size that you see in paprika. The color in paprika comes from carotenoids in the fruit, and the color can vary from like orange to yellow to red to brown. That depends on the variety of capsicum that you are growing, capsicum annuum that you are growing. What else? The taste. So it's in a lot of dishes. It's in things like salami, chorizo, goulash, paprika, all kinds of food sprinkled on your deviled eggs for looks. If you go to Hungary, it's sprinkled on everything all the time. You'll get it sprinkled on breakfast, sprinkled on lunch, sprinkled on every meal. You'll have paprika in it. The flavor of paprika it depends a little on the processing. It depends a little on the fruit. So occasionally they'll smoke it, which can give it a smoky note. But usually an earthy flavor, hay, roasty, bitter, can be sweet, vegetal, can have a little heat. Usually not a lot, but it can have some heat. And if they smoke it, then it will have a little bit of smokiness to it as well. So paprika in Hungary led to someone getting a Nobel Prize. So in mid-1900s, there was a scientist, Albert Szent-Györgyi, and I'm sure I'm saying that incorrectly. He discovered and isolated vitamin C. He called it hexuronic acid, but he eventually changed it to ascorbic acid. And why that name? Because it is an anti-ascorbiotic, which means it prevents scurvy. So it's the acid that prevents scurvy, vitamin C. That's what the sailors needed to prevent scurvy. But he isolated it from something where he could not get a lot of large quantities. So he needed somewhere to be able to get it in a large amount, to be able to use it and study it and use it as he wanted to. So the tale goes that one night in Hungary, his wife had made him dinner, and it had paprika sprinkled on it, of course, and he really didn't feel like having paprika that night. So he was trying to think of a way to get out of eating dinner, and he thought, does this have vitamin C? So he took it to his lab, analyzed it, and sure enough, capsicum annuum fruits are full of vitamin C. And his paprika led him to discover how they can isolate large quantities of ascorbic acid for use. But not only that discovery then led to discoveries about cellular respiration. So if you're a botany geek and you know about botany, biology, cellular respiration, you've probably heard, and you probably actually did this in high school, you probably heard of the Krebs cycle. Sometimes it's called the citric acid cycle, and that's because the first compound coming into the cycle is citric acid. So citric acid, vitamin C, ascorbic acid, all very important in understanding how cellular respiration occurs, which is how all of our cells stay alive. So super important discovery, the isolation of ascorbic acid, and that is one of the reasons why he won the Nobel Prize in the late 1900s. So paprika, man, you can get a Nobel Prize from thinking about it, or you can just eat it in a chocolate bar and enjoy it in its combination with some dark chocolate and paprika. So I hope that was interesting and you learned a little bit about paprika. If you have any questions that you want to ask me, drop it in the comments. Thank you for watching, and I hope you'll join me next time when we talk about all things chocolate. See you then.